What is going on, you guys? This is Eric Cuts for the win. It's time for another boss ranking video. This time we are looking at Returnal. I just completed the game and fought all of the bosses, so here are my rankings for Returnal bosses, easiest to hardest. Kicking us off as the easiest boss in Returnal is Phrike. This is the tutorial boss, so I'm sure this doesn't come as much of a surprise for you guys. You might agree even that this is the easiest boss. It teaches you the basics, how to dodge, how to avoid the melee attack that it does, which is, in my opinion, the hardest part about it. That was usually how I got hit in the fight. It took me one attempt to beat, and because I had the astronaut, I was able to survive it. So I did technically die, but it is the first attempt. It was the first boss in the game, and when you're fresh into this experience with Returnal, if you're like me, it was easy to feel the pressure of like, okay, this is going to be a hard game. I'm expecting the worst. I'm a little bit nervous. That was kind of my feelings going into it, and I'm sure that added to my slip-ups in the fight. But when you really break it down and you really look at it for what it really is a simple pattern of jumping over the occasional rings that come through, some bullet hell, not much at all, which is easily dodged through. And then of course you have that melee attack that you need to dodge away from, like I mentioned before. Once you master that and realize and understand the timing of that, the pattern of that move, it becomes light work at that point and easy to beat. He doesn't move much besides that melee, he kind of just stands there. It's very manageable, very doable, and in my opinion is a good tutorial boss because, like I said, it teaches you to be prepared for the rest. It kind of gives you the basics of, listen, you're gonna have to dodge, you're gonna have to jump, and you're gonna have to shoot. And that's kind of what this fight presents. So yeah, Phrike here at the bottom, no surprise, right? Next on my list is Hyperion. Now, if we were strictly talking beauty in a fight, strictly aesthetics and how awesome it looked, this would be number one. I absolutely loved this fight. But in terms of challenge, it wasn't really high up there. By the time I got to this guy, I was pretty beefed up. My proficiency in my weapons was great. I had just come off Biome 3 and beating that boss, and I went straight to this one, no issues really whatsoever, and I felt pretty powerful. So the damage I was taking was not very significant, and I was mostly just having a good time with this fight, so it came off as easy to me. There is a lot of bullet hell that is going on, and that's what makes this fight so pretty to look at, but it's pretty manageable to avoid. I felt like the space that is given for this fight, it was plenty. I had a lot of room to work with, and it made it easier to avoid all the bullet hell. If I just backed up a bit, dodged when I had to, it was fine. I didn't really feel overwhelmed or anything like that. And because the fight is just so fun, musically, the music is just really good. It's all revolved around the theme of music, if you know what's going on in the story and what kind of leads up to this fight dialogue-wise. It makes it very interesting. So I think as I was going through it, it just felt more fun than anything. I didn't really feel overwhelmed. I didn't feel stressed. I didn't feel like it was any kind of big time challenge, especially since I had my beefed up stats going in. Now, if you didn't have that, if you did die beforehand and you kind of started over and went into this fight, it would probably be a bit more challenging. But overall, I feel like the space that is given, the room that I was able to work with, I felt like that made it a lot easier. And on top of it, the bullet hell doesn't really damage you a whole lot. Bullet hell just in general in this game is not super damaging. What really damages is like the lasers, the rings of the lasers and things like that. And this boss didn't really have too much of that. It was more of the bullet hell than anything. In the last phase, I do believe it's the last one where he will put up some vines that kind of corner you in and you're stuck down this lane. All you really gotta do is just jump up and down and try and figure that out. At the time, I was getting hit by the vines because I was like, what is this? What's going on? I was trying to get out of it, but if you just look at it, you're in a lane, kind of stuck there for a few seconds, and you just gotta worry about avoiding the bullets. So overall, not a very difficult fight, but very enjoyable, very fun, and that's why I think it's so low on my list. Next at number 3, we got the middle of the pack here. We got the final boss, Ophion. I believe that's how you say it. This final boss, I'll be honest with you guys, I was a little disappointed. I felt it was a little underwhelming overall, but it was, you know, still rewarding to beat. It was the last boss, and it did pose some challenge, but however, kind of with the same situation as Hyperion, I was in this fight kind of beefed up. You notice that my proficiency is max level. I got a trophy for that, which was pretty cool. And my health is pretty strong, as you can see. So the damage I was taking wasn't really affecting me too much. And honestly, I had no idea what I was doing during this fight. So the footage you're about to see, you're probably gonna pull your hair out a little bit. So the tactic of this fight is you really have to shoot the white orbs, which is an ability that you're able to get in late game. So once you shoot those orbs, these little red, like tentacle little things pop out at the bottom of the boss, and I honestly did not even see them. I think because I knew, okay, this is the final boss, I just got to survive, and I was kind of nervous about it, right? So I'm just worrying about jumping around, avoiding these, you know, the bullet hell and everything, and I took so much time on that and just shooting whatever. And also I had the pylon driver, which is a gun that kind of does work for you. You shoot at things and it kind of connects to itself, and it does damage long after you've even shot. So I think that's what was getting me by. It was like, oh, I'm doing damage. I'm not really sure how, but I'm doing some damage. So I just sort of just kept shooting anything I could because I just did not see what was going on. But that's what you're supposed to do. And if I had known that, I think this fight would be even easier. I spent a lot of time on this fight just trying to survive, like I said, jumping around, and I did. I really felt like I wasn't taking a lot of damage. Again, it could just be because, you know, it's the end of the game. I've improved greatly since the start, and it's, you know, it's the beefed up stats again. So I really felt like I didn't have too much trouble in this fight. I spent way too much time on it than I should have. Could have easily beat it sooner. It was not very difficult at all. I actually think the water helps in situations like this types of, you know, these boss fights, because you're able to kind of avoid the bullet hell, I think, a little bit easier because you do a little bit more floating. And as long as you control that and kind of where you're landing, where you're jumping, and how much distance you have and all of that, when you kind of got that down, you can easily just avoid all this bullet hell for the most part. So yeah, that's why this final boss, underwhelming final boss, is here in the middle of the pack. Alright, now we're on to the big boys. This might be a head scratcher for some, you might disagree, I don't know, but I have Nemesis at number 2. It took me 1 attempt, no, 2 attempts. This first one, I didn't have any health, and I died in the first phase. But the second full-on attempt, I was able to get it done, and there's so much going on in this fight. Don't get it twisted, this is not easy by any means. I don't think I walked through it. I got hit a lot, especially in the 3rd phase. Now, if I didn't have enough health, if I didn't have the astronaut to lean on, which I didn't have to use, but mentally, you know, it kind of makes you feel a little better about things. If I didn't have that, and I didn't have my proficiency where it was, and the gun that I had, who knows? You know, I could have struggled a bit more. I know a lot of people struggled on this fight, but for me, the one solid attempt and how I was able to kind of manage, you know, the grapple hook and get that under control, I felt like I was able to get that in control really quickly. And it was chaotic, man. It was a blast. It was a total ride. I think this might be one of the most fun bosses in the game, of course. But challenge-wise, as long as you can get that grapple under control and get in position to shoot this boss, it really wasn't that bad. Bullet hell, not too bad. And again, bullet hell in this game doesn't really do a ton of damage. It's really the lasers and the fire, the rings that you got to worry about. As long as you can get that and jump over that, which I did for the most part, I felt like it was very manageable, very doable. And I streamed this live. I wanted to so badly say out loud, like, I got this, you know, this isn't bad, I got this. But I didn't want to jinx it. But I knew by that 2nd phase, beginning 3rd phase, I'm like, yeah, this is in the bag. I got this. It wasn't bad at all. But definitely a ride of a boss, and really awesome. And I could see why people would put this number 1. I definitely could. You know, when I look at it objectively, yes, difficult, because there's a lot going on. But for me, I mean, it's got to be here at number 2 because number 1 killed me a couple times, and I feel like I gotta take that into account. So let's just get to it, man. Number 1 is Ixion as the hardest boss in Returnal. During my playthrough of Returnal, I died more so in the areas, especially Biome 3. Can we set aside a video for Biome 3 alone? I probably should. The bosses themselves didn't provide the most deaths in my playthrough. Definitely not. But Ixion did kill me the most when it came to the bosses. I believe I took 4 attempts to kill him. It was kind of overwhelming at first. He does move around a lot. He's always moving. You get, some windows to shoot him, but they're always interrupted because you got to move again. I had to move my character Celine. She has never moved so much in her life. I felt like my hands were so sweaty and kind of cramping because I had to constantly move back and forth, left to right, up and down, dodge through the waves, jump. It was like a lot going on that I had to do, and I had to constantly adjust. It got to the point where I had to kind of reach over with my right thumb to kind of help my left thumb to move the left stick and vice versa. Like I had to kind of navigate my hands all over the controller because it was like constant movement. And so yeah, this boss is just very busy, always moving around the area. There's plenty of room to work with, but because the bullet hell spreads so much at times, and because they're always moving, it can feel small. It can feel small and feel like, damn, like I'm on the wrong side. I need to get to the other side, and you gotta quickly move there. So that I think is what made this boss more difficult than the others. Also, the rings, the laser rings, those do a lot of damage. And then you have the blue waves that come at you, the bullet hell that's happening at the same time. So you're trying to watch all these different things and manage where you're at in this area, as well as shooting this enemy, this boss, at the same time. So you really gotta manage your multitasking in this fight, and that's, I think, what makes it the most difficult as well. Again, bullet hell, yeah, it doesn't really damage you as much, but it's more to worry about, and the spread is so wide. And again, with the boss moving as much as it does, and then slamming down on you as well with the ring coming out, the bullets coming out, and melee attacks. Yeah, man, this boss was getting down. So yeah, to me, this is the hardest boss, especially because it's so early in the game where I wasn't really in that mindset yet of like, oh, I gotta beef up my character all the way that I can. I kind of went in there with what I had, and just worked the area and had the health that I did. No second bar, no nothing. So that could, be pinned to be my fault. But at the same time, I just feel like because most of us don't really know that at the beginning, right? We're just kind of going through it, and we haven't really got there yet. This boss poses a even more challenge because of that. So yeah, Ixion here as the hardest boss in Returnal. I think my list is fair. I think I knocked it down. Got it right, at least for me, and that's what this is. So let me know your guys' lists in the comments section. Let me know if it's any different. What you agree with, what you don't agree with. We're all gonna have those different experiences, right? Maybe you got it down quicker as far as like, oh, I gotta beef up my character from the beginning. For me, it kind of took a little stubbornness, a little bit of time to kind of get there. But I'm happy the way I did it, man. I'm happy the way I learned this game. Once I actually do like some kind of review video, I'll get into more of that. But as far as the bosses go, cool designs, a couple of them really, really fun to fight. And some of them, more challenging than others, of course. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you in my next one, all right? Peace.